Is the world witnessing a historical anomaly in which the president of a sovereign nation intervenes not for war, economic crisis, or geopolitical conflict, but for the sake of a K-pop idol named Jungkook? The question sounds exaggerated, almost absurd, even provocative. Yet that is precisely where the shock lies. Because in early 2026, an event that appeared trivial on the surface slowly pulled back the curtain on a new reality: that the power of pop culture has moved beyond entertainment and is now knocking on the door of international diplomacy. There were no emergency sirens, no tense state announcements, just a routine daily press conference at Mexico's National Palace. President Claudia Sheinbaum stood before journalists, addressing domestic issues as usual. But in one moment that seemed brief, a single sentence slipped out, and the world shifted. She acknowledged that she had sent a diplomatic letter to South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, not to discuss trade, security, or climate change, but to request something that, until that day, had never been recorded in international relations textbooks: the addition of BTS concert dates in Mexico. The public's initial reaction was a mix of disbelief and astonishment. A president? An official letter? For a concert? Yet Sheinbaum neither laughed nor trivialized her move. Her tone was serious, almost academic, as she explained the reasoning behind the decision. "Everyone wants to go," she said, as quoted by Reuters on Monday, January 26, 2026. Around 1 million young people want to buy tickets, but only 150,000 tickets are available. That figure was not merely a statistic. It was a portrait of collective frustration among Mexico's youth, a social pressure so intense that it reached the president's desk. This is where the name Jungkook began to resonate even louder. Although the letter formally mentioned BTS as a group, the public understood that the primary magnet driving this global hysteria could not be separated from a single figure. Jungkook, BTS's main vocalist, has long surpassed idol status. He is a symbol, a cross-cultural emotional reference point, and for millions of young people, a reflection of hope and an escape from an increasingly harsh reality. When BTS concert tickets in Mexico City sold out within minutes, what collapsed was not only the ticketing servers, but also the expectations of millions of ARMY who felt defeated by the system. The Guardian noted that more than 1 million people attempted to access just 150,000 tickets. This imbalance triggered a wave of disappointment that could no longer be contained on social media. Complaints, tears, anger, and accusations flooded timelines. For the Mexican government, this was no longer merely an entertainment issue. It had become a social matter affecting young people, a demographic group that has long been central to Sheinbaum's policy focus. But why Jungkook? Why not simply BTS? The question echoed repeatedly. In Mexico, Jungkook is not just a group member. He is the most globally recognizable face, a figure who frequently appears in cross-generational conversations. Videos, concert clips, and snippets of his performances circulate widely, building an intense emotional bond. In many online discussions, BTS concerts are often referred to with the simple phrase, Jungkook's concert, a simplification that sociologically illustrates how a single individual can come to represent an entire cultural phenomenon. Sheinbaum herself admitted that she had first attempted non-diplomatic channels. She contacted OCESA, Mexico's largest concert promoter, hoping there might be room to add more shows. But the response was firm. Additional dates were not currently possible, as reported by AP News. It was at that point that an unusual decision was made. When the industry route was closed, the state route was opened. A letter was written. Diplomatic protocol was activated. And the world fell silent, trying to process the meaning of this move. Is this a dangerous precedent, or an honest reflection of changing times? Cultural analysts view it as evidence that South Korea's soft power, long built through K-pop, has reached a new peak. BTS, and especially Jungkook, now influence not only musical taste but public policy in other countries. Cultural diplomacy, once abstract, has taken concrete form. An official letter exchanged between heads of state. On the other hand, Sheinbaum's move also sparked fierce domestic debate. Mexico's Consumer Protection Agency opened an investigation into Ticketmaster and ticket resellers over alleged unfair practices, as reported by Reuters. For many ARMY, the core issue was not just the number of concerts, but a system perceived as robbing them of their rights. Yet the fact that the president chose to write to South Korea underscores the magnitude of public pressure she faced. Meanwhile, the South Korean government has remained silent. No official comment. No confirmation. This silence has only amplified speculation. Was the letter taken seriously? Are Jungkook and BTS truly at the center of high-level diplomatic conversations? Or is the world witnessing the dawn of a new era, where the power of an idol can influence the policy direction of another nation? One thing, however, is undeniable. What began as an announcement of BTS's Arirang World Tour has now evolved into a global case study on cultural power, mass emotion, and the new boundaries of diplomacy. And at the heart of it all stands one name, repeated, whispered, and debated endlessly: Jungkook. On Mexico's digital streets, especially on Platform X, the atmosphere shifted dramatically within hours. What began as pride that "our president cares" quickly morphed into sharper, even painful questions. Why go this far? Why must the state intervene in something that should belong to the entertainment industry? And most brutally of all, why does the system always fail to protect genuine fans? One by one, ARMY voices emerged, not merely in hysterical tones, but through arguments that revealed deep collective exhaustion. The account at JKVBTS13 wrote that what was needed was not simply additional concert dates, but the courage of the state to crack down on resellers and what were seen as manipulative Ticketmaster practices. This comment did not stand alone. Thousands of other users echoed it, forming a counter-narrative to the brief wave of diplomatic euphoria that had taken hold. At this point, Jungkook was no longer positioned solely as an eagerly awaited idol. He became a symbol of conflict, a symbol of unequal access, a symbol of a generation that feels its passion is endlessly exploited by systems far more powerful than themselves. Some fans even began to feel uneasy with the additional concert narrative, as if the well-being of BTS, including Jungkook, were something that could be negotiated simply to quell public anger. BTS are not machines, wrote the account at Agus_Bang7, a simple sentence that resonated far more powerfully than any ticket sales figure. Concerns about the physical and mental health of Jungkook and the other BTS members began to surface. They had only just completed their mandatory military service, a phase that drains both energy and emotion. Expectations that they should immediately add more concert dates were viewed by some ARMY as unfair pressure, even if it stemmed from a president's good intentions. Yet this is where the greatest paradox emerges. Precisely because Jungkook holds such profound emotional influence, the state feels compelled to act. For the Mexican government, young people are not merely a statistical demographic. They are a political base, the future workforce, and Mexico's face on the global stage. When more than 1 million young people unite behind a single demand, silence is no longer a safe option. Scheinbaum understands this very well. In a widely circulated video clip, she even hinted at alternative solutions if additional dates prove impossible. Large screens, public access, other ways to ensure that the euphoria is not monopolized by those who can afford astronomical prices on the black market. This statement revealed another layer of her diplomatic move. It was not only an appeal to South Korea, but also a message to her own people that the state is present. Even if the outcome remains uncertain at the global level, academics and cultural observers have begun dissecting the phenomenon. They describe it as the peak of idol-centric soft power, a phase in which individual figures like Jungkook possess appeal that surpasses even formal cultural institutions. Where K-pop was once viewed merely as an industrial product, it is now seen as a social force capable of triggering policy responses in other nations.
In this context, BTS is the vehicle. Jungkook is the engine. His popularity in Latin America, particularly in Mexico, did not arise by chance. Years of digital content consumption, emotionally resonant lyrics, and an image perceived as authentic have built bonds that are difficult to explain through conventional marketing theory. When Jungkook sings, millions feel as though they are being spoken to personally. And when the opportunity to witness that moment is taken away by the system, that sense of loss transforms into anger. The investigation into Ticketmaster launched by Mexico's Consumer Protection Agency proves that the state has not entirely ignored the root of the problem. Yet it also exposes clear limitations. Legal processes take time, while public emotion moves far faster. It is within this gap that the diplomatic letter stands, as a powerful symbolic act, even if it may not be practically effective. As South Korea remains silent, speculation continues to grow. Are Jungkook and BTS aware that their names are now being invoked in the context of intergovernmental diplomacy? Do they feel burdened or shocked by the scale of influence they have achieved? There are no official answers, and it is precisely this uncertainty that makes the story even more compelling. What is clear is one thing: this phenomenon has moved beyond the normal boundaries of the entertainment industry. Jungkook is no longer just a singer. He has become a variable in a complex social and political equation, a reality he may never have asked for, but can no longer avoid. And when emotion, politics, and pop culture collide, the world always changes. The question now is no longer whether concerts will be added, but what all of this means for the future relationship between states, the entertainment industry, and a generation of young people increasingly aware of their collective power. When a nation chooses silence, the world often speaks louder. And that is precisely what happened after Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum's letter was sent to Seoul. There was no reciprocal press conference, no official statement, no clarification from the South Korean presidential office. The silence felt strange, almost suspicious, because behind it lay a question that had never truly been tested before. How should a state respond when pop culture, through a single figure named Jungkook, enters the realm of formal diplomacy? In the tradition of international relations, letters exchanged between heads of state are never trivial. They symbolize seriousness, mutual recognition of legitimacy, and national interest. So when a request for additional BTS concert dates, often personified in the public imagination through Jungkook, entered this channel, the world realized that something fundamental had shifted. This was no longer about music. It was about influence. Analysts in Seoul began to dissect the situation carefully. For years, South Korea has cultivated its soft power through Hallyu, with K-pop as its spearhead. BTS stands as the crown jewel of that strategy, and Jungkook is its most radiant gem. Precisely because of this, however, any decision involving them cannot be made emotionally. The state must weigh economic impact, international image, and the well-being of the artists themselves. This is where the dilemma emerges. If Mexico's request is granted, the world will see that public pressure in one country can shape the agenda of global artists through diplomatic channels, a precedent both dangerous and revolutionary. Yet if it is ignored, South Korea risks being perceived as insensitive to the international fan base that has long been the backbone of its global influence. While elites deliberate in silence, the global public reads that silence as an invitation to speculate. Does Jungkook know that his name, implicitly, became the reason a diplomatic letter was sent? Do BTS feel proud, burdened, or trapped between state interests and the expectations of millions of fans? These questions flow unanswered, forming an increasingly emotional narrative. In Mexico, the story has grown into something far larger than the concert itself. Jungkook is now seen as a representation of the dreams of a young generation that feels, perhaps for the first time, heard by the state. That a president would be willing to take political risks to acknowledge their desires, even if the outcome remains uncertain. In this context, the letter was not only a message to South Korea, but a domestic declaration that the voices of young people carry weight. Yet history always teaches that symbols come with consequences. When a state openly acknowledges the power of pop culture, it also opens the door to similar demands in the future. Today Jungkook, tomorrow who? An athlete? An actor? A digital figure? The world is moving toward an era in which influence is no longer monopolized by formal institutions, but by individuals capable of forging emotional bonds across borders. This case is now being studied as a concrete example of a new generation of cultural diplomacy, no longer one-directional from state to world, but a chaotic, emotional, and often unpredictable dialogue. Jungkook does not sit at the negotiating table, yet his presence is felt there. His name is not written in the official letter, but the pulse of his influence runs through every line. Most ironically, all of this began with disappointment, with tickets selling out in minutes, with servers crashing, with the tears of fans who felt sidelined by the system. It was that emotion that pushed a president to step beyond the conventional limits of her authority. It was that emotion that made the world turn and ask, is this the future of the relationship between people, culture, and the state? As of now, an answer from South Korea has yet to arrive. But perhaps that, in itself, is where the deepest meaning of this event lies. That the world stands at a crossroads attempting to understand a new language of power. A language written not in trade agreements or military doctrine, but in song lyrics, stadium cheers, and a single name capable of uniting millions through shared feeling. Jungkook may never have intended to become a geopolitical symbol, but history rarely asks permission, chooses its own figures. And when an idol can prompt a president to write a letter, trigger a state investigation, and ignite a global discourse on justice, access, and cultural power, one thing becomes clear. The world after this will never be quite the same. Whatever answer may come, if it comes at all, one fact is already etched in place. Music no longer stops at the stage. It has entered the halls of state. And amid the echoes of diplomacy, the name Jungkook will continue to be spoken. As a marker of a moment when the boundary between entertainment and power finally collapsed in Mexico, the letter has evolved into a national narrative. It is discussed not only among K-pop fans, but also in academic circles, mainstream media, and political debates. Many pose the question in an almost philosophical tone: should the state be present in matters of its citizens' happiness, even when that happiness is born on an entertainment stage? The question has no single answer, yet the courage to ask it is enough to mark a shift in the times. Meanwhile, for Jungkook and BTS, their silence only sharpens the irony of this situation. They continue to exist as musicians, artists, and individuals, yet the shadow of their influence has moved beyond personal control. What they create in studios and on stages now carries a resonance capable of penetrating the walls of state palaces, a power that is both empowering and unsettling. And perhaps, when one day that letter is finally answered, whatever the response may be, what history will remember is not the number of concerts added or denied, but the moment the world awakened to the realization that power had shifted direction. That in this century, a single song, a single voice, and a single name can cause nations to pause, listen, and reconsider what influence truly means.